You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
Thank you for hanging out. And for anybody that does not know who I am, I'm Stacy Rossetti. I've been investing in self-storage for 5 years. We own 11 facilities, and then I've been teaching and coaching for a couple of years as well too. And love teaching, love talking about storage. I'm a storage nerd, and that's what the coaching program is called. It's called Storage Nerds. And so if you want to be a storage nerd, make sure that you check out storagenerds.com. That's where that's where all of us hang out. The community hangs out, and then we just like talk shop and like really help each other, and try to like even do deals together and all kinds of stuff. So all right, and let's see what else. And then also right after this, just so everybody knows, the next webinar I'm doing now is the Self-Storage Fund of America. That is, if anybody's interested in learning about the fund, that comes on right after this. So usually this time block is for me teaching to anybody that wants to hear me. And then the next time block is going to be the fund and me pitching the fund and going over the phone. And whether or not you're interested in whether or not you have the money to invest or not, like come hear me out, because then you can see kind of how pitches go and stuff. And the truth is, like, this is the first fund I've ever pitched. So, I'm doing the best I can as well too. But, I always say, like, and I tell my team this too, is like, we just need to get this going. Because the more momentum that you create, then the more you're going to, the more momentum that you have, the more you're going to create, the more you're going to be able to do. So I am very I'm just a person that's like, let's just take action. Let's just go. I know it's not 100%, but I'm going to just get out there and do the best I possibly can and just figure it out as I go. That's kind of how it is. Okay. So, all right, good. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Or actually, what I wanted to do first is I wanted to show you a couple of storage facilities that we're thinking about adding on to, and we're looking to add on to, and then we'll go over the process of just new construction and like, what should I do? Like, if I'm interested in building on, what should I do? Okay, so let me share my screen and over here. Okay, yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to show you some ways that you can find land as well. I wanted to show you this website, or the websites that I kind of look up. So people think like, what happened was I talked to one of my students today, and she really wants to build a storage facility. And she's like, I've been talking to this realtor about these like properties for sale. And so get this, all right, like in the same area, she's in like the Greensboro, North Carolina. Is it Greensboro, North Carolina, or Greensboro, South Carolina? I can't remember which one it is, but she's in the Greensboro area. And she talked to a realtor in the area. And I think it's like kind of in the same area, but maybe in like, it's at like a 10-mile radius of where she lives. And so she kind of is like, I want to build a storage facility where I live. So when you go like she lives outside the city. When you go towards the city, she went in a little bit. She talked to the realtor, and the realtor said that the best piece of land that she can find online is 3 acres for like $225,000. 3 acres for $225,000. That seems like expensive land. And I get that, like, the world is like, not the world, but like the United States is getting more and more expensive. But the truth is that when you go directly to the owner, you will get a much better deal. And then on top of that, you can also try to convince the owner that you can owner finance the land, right? That they can owner finance it. So she had two options. One of them was to kind of go a little bit towards the city and like be more closer to the city and buy 3 acres for $225,000. or to go kind of a little bit more north this way, still kind of along, like, because it's kind of along the highway, but not like right on the highway. Still go, and it's like, it's like, it's growing, the area is growing, obviously it's expanding, and or go like kind of outside more north of where she was. And she has a friend, or it was like, I guess not a friend, but like an acquaintance, like somebody introduced her to this person that had 23 acres for $275,000. 23 acres for $275 more north, a little bit more north, or the 225 acres more towards the city. All right. And so this is kind of what, like, how our conversation started. And you guys tell me, what do y'all think about that? Would you like to be more towards the city with the 3 acres at $225,000? Or would you like to be a little bit more north and have like 23 acres with $275,000? And obviously for me, I would want the 23 acres for 275. And the good thing was that that owner is open to owner financing, because I told her, I said, just ask him. Just ask the owner. You know what I'm saying? Just ask the owner if they're open to owner financing. And for all of my students that, that are here, you have access to the $1 million offer letter. That's what I call that's my new offer letter I just came up with. And I just love the name, $1 million offer letter. And that on that offer letter, essentially what you're doing is you're doing 4 different offers. One offer is like your cash offer, and the other 3 are like owner financing offers. I mean, anybody can do that, but my students have access to the one that we use. And and you can use that not only for storage, but you can use that letter for any type of property, including land, right? And when you make an offer, in fact, you should really only make, like, you should make like a couple different offers. You don't want to just make like one offer, because then that's just like, if they don't want that offer, the doors are closed. That's why I love to make owner financing offers, because it just plants the seed and opens up, like, opens up the mind of the owner. And maybe they think like, oh, well, maybe I could do an owner finance offer, or maybe my cash offer was a little bit too low and maybe we have to come up, or something like that. But it really kind of gets their wheels turning. But so what I told her is, I just said, like, take that offer letter and then make an offer to the owner, the landowner, make 4 different offers, right? And and do the same exact thing that you would do for storage if it was the storage facility, but just do it for land instead, and try to get the owner to finance, right? And so yeah, so this is basically what we talked about, and I wanted to just share that with you guys, because you can do the same thing as well. So anyway, and I wanted to point out that the land, now she had somebody that introduced her to, like, somebody that she knew that had like 20 acres for sale or whatever. But if you don't know anybody, if you say, I want to build and I don't know any place where to get land, obviously you can go to like a like a real estate agent that like specializes in land. All right, you can do that, and you can go onto the MLS. You can go onto you can hire them, and they can search all the land for you. But I feel that you can get way better deals on land if you just go directly to the owner. And so that's why I wanted to just show you that website I had pulled up. Right. So you could just look up land for sale, and you can look up any state that you want. Like if you wanted to be in North Carolina, see Lakeway or North Carolina or whatever, you could do that. Or you could just do nationwide and just, keep an eye on, what's coming up, like Land Watch, right? Is a land for sale for me, Lands of America. So basically typing in land for sale, either just generically or putting in the areas that you're interested in, all right, would be a great way to start looking for like properties for sale, just to get an idea of what some things are. Now, these things like Land of Texas, Land of America, Land Watch, these are all, most likely, these are all wholesalers. These are all people that, they're sending out letters, they're doing all the work for you, and they'll sell you the property, right? And a lot of times they'll even owner finance the property as well too. And so that's one way that you could do it. Or you can just, where if you know for sure that you want to buy, like I want to build in like Greensboro, like right, like this student, then you could buy a land list, right? You could buy a land list, and then you could just mail out the letters yourself, which is exactly the same way that all these people that we just saw from the websites are doing. So it's really not that difficult to do that. And actually the truth is it's very, very easy to get people, like if you mail out a letter, it's very easy to get people to call you for land, because I've done this and I've focused on land. And for a while I did this, and people are always wanting to sell their land. Like, nobody wants to sell their houses right now, but a lot of people want to sell their land. And so it's a lot easier. You'll get a lot of phone calls if you buy a list and then just mail out the land, mail out to land people, land owners. Okay. Now the hardest part about land is really comping the lands, because there's really not a lot of good ways to comp land. You know what I'm saying? Like you could kind of look online and stuff like that, but it's really like you'll find 20 acres here that sold for $1 million, and 20 acres like right next door that sold for like 200 grand. And it is what it is. Probably one person used a realtor and one person didn't use a realtor, but yeah. Anyway, so I just want to get into the land part, because if you're going to be building, new construction, whether you're going to be adding on, if you have a facility, adding more units on and value adding the property, or you're going to be purchasing a property itself and then and then just building on, then you would need to understand land and understand what the appraised value of land is. Now, we talked to a owner over here in the Austin area, up here where I was, because when we were driving for storage, we found an owner that wants to sell his boat and RV storage. And he had like a 5-acre lot. Let's say it was probably like 5 acres, and he had about like 75 storage facilities. I mean, sorry, not storage facilities, a boat and RV parking like lanes. It's like covered but open parking. It wasn't like completely enclosed or anything like that. And he wanted to sell. He was like, I'm selling. When we called him, we talked to him, he's like, I'm selling, make me an offer. All right. So we said, yeah, we're going to go out there and take a look at it. We took a look, and he has like, one row of boat and RV. He was making around $72,000 a year on his boat and RV parking. All right. So for me personally, he had when I view that, he had 5 acres of land, and then he was taking up probably around like maybe 2.5 acres just for the boat. Because remember, boat and RV takes up a lot of like space. You got like, especially he had like big lanes that had like, huge big RV spots and stuff, because those things get up to like 60 feet sometimes. And so it just takes a lot of space to move in, and now it's like truck parking or something. Okay. And so he had like maybe 70 or 80, I can't remember, 75 spaces on one half and then nothing on the other. So like a free open area on the other. Okay. So we basically, when we looked at this property for $72,000, I mean, a year, we valued the property as 600 grand. I said, for me, when I look at a property and there's storage on it and it's an income producing property and it's earning this much money, that means that it's worth X amount of dollars, right? So the value of the land I don't really account for the value of the land. All right. Well, this owner, the property, like the owner of the property, he, in his mind, he thought that this land was worth a lot of money. I mean, it's kind of in the Austin area, but like kind of out on the outskirts. It's in a little town called in like Liberty Hill, which is a little tiny town. One of these towns that's like almost where Austin's starting to, the metro Austin area is starting to bump up to it, but it's like not quite. So it's like the end of the secondary and the beginning of the tertiary market, essentially what it is. But he just, in his mind, he thought this 5 acres was just worth like a bazillion dollars. Okay. And the reason why I talked to him, because I called him up and I was like, you're only making $72,000. I mean, it's really only valued at like 600 grand or something like this, And he was like, 600 grand. No, he's like, I want $2.4 million for this property. And I was like, nobody gonna buy this thing for $2.4 million. But there's a storage facility kind of like right around the corner from it, but it's like a real storage with like enclosed units. And it's like huge property, probably like 300 units on this like property of like 10 acres, or not 10 acres, probably I say like five or six, maybe five, or that's probably 5 acres, but it was like kind of a weird shape. So it could only fit like maybe 3 acre, 300 units on it. And so he was like, he's like, that property, he's like, that property just sold for like, $2 million. And I was like, and the owner in his mind had no idea, like, really how to value his property. Like, he was just like, oh, the neighbor over there sold his property for 200 to $2 million. Mine is worth $2 million. Commercial real estate means if you buy that piece of land and you're going to do something with it as a business, the value of the business is what is the value of that property. Right? How much income you're producing. Now, if you had extra, 5 acres or land, or 10 acres or 20 acres, well, yeah, we could value that we can value that. But essentially, you have like 2 acres of land that we could put another like maybe 75 units on. All right. So that, that in itself doesn't really, maybe I could pay a little bit of money for it, but I'm not going to pay $2 million for it. That's for sure. But he totally did not understand that concept at all. So my point is that some owners like do not know what the value of their property is, what the value of their land is. They're just going off of like what happens like right next to them or whatever, so, and they just get these numbers in their mind. So it's really kind of your job to educate them. It's your job to let them know and show them that the property is only worth like a certain amount of money. So I basically explained it to him. And I said, there's, first of all, there's no bank that's going to finance that, because a bank essentially looks at the income of the property. They're not going to be like, oh, it's 5 acres and it's making 75 grand. And there's another 2 acres there. That's worth $2 million. No bank is going to do that. No lender is going to do that. Right. So, so I said, there's just no way that, I seriously doubt anybody's going to pay $2 million for it. And he was like, well, I'm just going to hold out and see, like, I don't really need to sell this thing. If somebody wants to give me $2 million, I'll sell it. And that's so funny, because that's like, there's a lot of owners that I talk to and they're always like $2 million, and it's like some random number that they just like pulled out of their butt. And I've had that several times. So I'm not sure where that comes from, but maybe that's just like a number everybody has. So anyways, so you want to make sure that, if you're buying a facility that has land on it, right, and the facility that has extra land, and the facility has a lot of land, well, yeah, it's going to be valued as something. But if it just has like, a little bit of land, extra land on it, it's not valued at that much. It's just not. All right. Okay. All right, so that is land in itself. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out too was that you can also join Facebook groups. All right, so like land for sale. And I'm doing this right now as well, because like I really I want to buy land. I want to buy some land, So I'm just following like land for sale in Georgia, and you could put the state here as well. So land for sale, yeah. See, land for sale in Texas by owner, land for sale near me. So I'm in Texas, so obviously it comes up. But here's South Carolina. Oh yeah, so I'm like a member of this Farms, Land, and Houses group. And I like to join these group, and I like to have them. I set it on like highlights, like, so whenever there's a lot of engagement, it'll pop up on my feed. And then like I like to see what kind of like what's for sale in what areas, what's like happening in the world. And that's why it just kind of keeps me up to date on like land for sale or property for sale in certain areas that I'm interested. So I'm always aware of like what the market looks like. So for you, you should be actually joining joining groups. Now this is the marketplace, right? This is the Facebook marketplace, and there's always stuff for sale too here. So you can always look in here and keep an eye out on properties that are for sale. And then you can also go, I just go to groups, like, so land for sale, and then I'll just join whatever groups, like, look, go like San Antonio land for sale or something like that. If I'm interested in that area, here's Texas for sale by owner, and this kind of stuff. I join these groups that they'll pop up on my feed. So I'm sitting in the middle of, that night when I can't sleep or whatever. And you're not supposed to do this. When I can't sleep, sometimes I'll just get up and like scroll on Facebook and just kind of look around and see like what's out there in the world. And so that's kind of what I do, where I just keep myself up to date on like land for sale across the country. I'm the type of person, I'm like open to purchasing kind of anywhere in the country, so I'm like, let me just see what's out there and just keep up to date on it. Okay. All right, good. So that is the land. All right, that's the land portion. Okay, so now let's just say that we found a piece of land. Oh, actually, before we do that, I wanted to share a couple of properties that we are going to be adding on to. So let me get this out of here, out of the way, so I can do this. And this is our website, misslillians.com. So y'all can come check it out. Okay. And in the let's do Georgia. I pulled up Georgia, the Noonan location in Georgia is the one that we're going to do something with. We're not 100% sure if we're going to do storage or parking, but let me see if I can pull some pictures up, and if it comes up. It doesn't really come up here, but let me pull this up here. Okay, yeah, I pulled it up right here. So I just pulled this up. Now this is the property. And the property it goes like to where these trees are. So there's this whole section, like kind of right here, right? So there's two buildings, and then you could see, hang on, let me see. You could see like there's boat and RV, there's boat parking here, RV parking here, and then there's boat and RV parking. Like it's kind of this weird like shape or whatever. I don't know why the owner did that. But essentially our idea is either to make this into more boat and RV parking, right? Because our boat and RV parking for this area is always full, or it's always full. And so we may just fence this in and then just make it into boat and RV parking. And that means that we would have to just pave the whole thing, right? And then make this all just kind of match whatever. This is all asphalt right here, but we would just make this all asphalt. And or we could get rid of all this and then put more buildings and just not like not put RV and boat parking here. We could just get rid of that, because you could fit, honestly, like you could put like an L-shaped building here. You could put a lot of units. This is a total of 3 acres. Okay, it's 3 acres. We have, I think, 60 units and then like 15 parking spaces is what we have. All right, so the parking spaces do take up a lot of room. See, that's the one thing with parking is that you do, especially with boat and RV parking, because they need to get in and out. And like these, and that's why I think these spaces were a little bit bigger over here, because they were just thinking, the owner was thinking like, oh, maybe I could just park some bigger ones back over here. Okay. So we're kind of figuring that out and trying to figure out what we do. And so there's this whole this is all, it doesn't look like a lot, but this is about I would say right here, with including the RV, the boat and RV, is 2 acres. So 2 acres of land, you could probably fit around 50 to, yeah, you could probably fit 50 to 75. I would say 50 larger boat and RV stuff, maybe up to 75 kind of smaller slots. But boat and RV, like RVs are getting a lot bigger nowadays, so you just need a lot more room. So I would say like probably 50 more parking spaces here. So what we'd have to do is fence this in and then asphalt this and then just put like new lanes everywhere and just relane the whole thing. So we could do that. To fence in, it's already fenced in here. So to fence this in, it would probably cost, I can't remember. I got a fence quote on another facility a while back. And I remember it actually was a 2-acre lot and it was going to cost $25,000. It was a 2-acre. Yeah, it was a 2-acre lot and it was going to cost, I think it was going to cost 25,000 if I remember correctly. So it would cost, it's expensive to put a fence up. Does anybody put a fence up? Know what the square footage is? I can't remember off the top of my head, but essentially it's still a lot of money. All right. So I'm guessing it probably take like 20 grand just to fence this whole thing. And because we have to redo a little bit right here and stuff. So 20 grand, let's say. And then to asphalt. So we just re-asphalted another one of our facilities. And we did like probably about an acre of asphalt, and it cost us about 30 grand. So it's kind of expensive, right? So it's going to cost, I would say, 50 grand to asphalt this, and 20 grand, 20, maybe 20 grand to fence that in. Okay. To do that. So let's say a good 70 grand to do that. And or we could put more units in. Now, to put more units is costing around $40 a square foot right now. $40. Now, also with the boat and RV stores, like essentially these are all open. These are not covered at all. The area doesn't really call for covered. I mean, we could do covered boat and RV parking. I remember before COVID used to cost $15 a square foot. It is up to like probably about $20 a square foot now. Okay, so the covered, not completely enclosed or anything, but the covered like parking for boat and RV is about $20 a square foot to build. Okay, storage units right now, storage facilities are about $40 a square foot. All right, and that is including, well, that should be including a lot, honestly, because I have a student right now that's building, I think, like maybe 40 or 50 units. So not like a huge big, thing, but like 40 or 50 units. He says it's about $40 a square foot. And he's doing let's see, that includes like, not clearing the land, but prepping the land, grading the land, putting the asphalt down, and building the units as well. Okay, and then also that includes like the company to manage the whole project. Okay, because they do charge like a management fee if you want them to manage it. Now you could manage it yourself and save the money, obviously, but like he's getting like them to just manage the whole thing is what he's doing. And so it's coming out to about $40 a square foot for all that. All right. So essentially, so what you would need to do is compare, like, if I have to pay $40 a square foot to build a storage facility, right? And then, or $20 a square foot to build like a boat storage, what am I going to be receiving as like payments, right? So you have like basically, boat and RV parking is costing roughly around, like, I mean, it depends on how big the lane is, but it's costing around $100, anywhere from like $75 to $100. We charge about $75 a lane right now, but most likely that's going to go up to $100. We just repaved. Like in one of the facilities that we have, we just repaved. It's like beautiful, got the whole thing nice, and we're going up to $100 a lane on that for all of our boat. And actually, that's like, yeah, that's a whole bunch of like, because that does like big trucks and things like that too. But essentially, it's $100 a lane. But I would say typically you're going to see anywhere from $50 to $100. I would not recommend parking cars. That's a bad idea to like park cars, like, because they're always, people are coming in and working on them and stuff like this all the time, and it's super annoying. So we totally just, where our rule is do not park any cars. Like we park boats, RVs, pickup truck, like big rigs, dump trucks, box trucks, things like that. But we don't do any like smaller cars anymore, just because it's just too much of a headache. It really is. So that's just my personal opinion, but you can try it out and see. Cars are like $30 a lane, and also not going to take up space. And actually, like if you do like these huge lanes and then you park this like little car, you're just wasting all that square footage. You know what I'm saying? Like unless you have it where it's like you can do like little lanes of 12 by 30 feet, then it might help a little bit. But like, and it really depends on the storage facility, because we have one storage facility where there's like 3 rows of buildings, and then there's like, you could put another row, but it's a little bit too squishy. So it's like, okay, well, maybe we could just park some like 10 by 30 cars over there or something. But we just haven't done that either, because it's just a pain in the butt with the cars. Anyway, so Yeah, so $40 a square foot for the enclosed or $20. And then you just have to compare, like, what would you be getting for income, right? If you had, if I could put 50, 50 lanes at $100 each, that's $5,000 a month. All right. But if I could do like on that, if I could do another like 150 units at $100 each, which I probably could, right? Then that would be a lot. That's like a lot of money. 50, isn't that $15,000? Yeah. So $15,000. And but it does cost you more to build, right? So would you, how much money would be better? How much money, more money would you be making? So you just have to look at that. So essentially that is what we're looking at, is deciding on that facility. So I wanted to show that to you as well too, just so you get an idea of kind of what we're thinking. And then I just wanted to make sure we go step by step into like how everything works. I talked a little bit on, let me see. We talked a little bit on the, okay. All right. Let me share this screen. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's do new build. New build. Okay. Step by step process. Whatever you want to call that. Okay. So I already talked about it. The first thing is you got to find some land, right? Find land. All right. Find land to purchase. Either by, you got to hire a realtor to help you, or you got to mail letters, or you got to go online to look, or you have to go on Facebook groups. So I gave you 4 ways to find land to purchase. All right. The second thing is that now that you found this land, right, you're like, okay, I think I have a piece of property that may be good to build a storage facility on. The second thing that you have to do, and we may go out of order, but this is, in my mind, this would be the second thing. The second thing is to talk to the county or the city to make sure that you can build storage on that property. All right, so talk to county or city, wherever it's located, to make sure, for approval to build. You have to ask them, right? You have to ask them, like, can I build a storage facility on this property? And if I can, what is the process? What is the process from you guys in order to allow me to be able to build? All right. Okay, so the process for them may be that you have to get it rezoned, right? Maybe it's not. What's the zoning? Is it zoned commercial? Is it zoned industrial, light industrial? Is it zoned agricultural, residential? So what is it zoned as? And if it's not zoned what it should be, can I get it rezoned? And what's the process of that? Rezone process if necessary. Okay. What's the permitting process? So they say, like, they say, yeah, you can build a storage facility. It's zoned light industrial. So you're perfect. You can build a storage facility. And then you say, great. Now what's the permitting process? All right. So how does this work? How did the process work? What do I need to know as the person that's managing this? What do I need to be doing? And then they'll tell you what they need to be doing. So actually we looked at building like a facility. We have one facility in the middle of Georgia, and we were looking at buying another one across the street and then adding on to that. And it's just like it's like a very tertiary market in Georgia, but it's kind of near the ocean, so I don't know why it's so tertiary. Like Georgia's is very weird, I think. But like essentially, I called the permitting office and I said, and I talked to the guy. It was like the zoning guy, And I said, okay, so I'm Stacy Rossetti, and I'm thinking about buying this facility. It's on 2 acres. It's got, it had, I think it had like maybe 20 or 30 doors on it. And I really wanted to add on. He's like, oh yeah, I know that property. He's like, and I said, well, can I add more units on it? Can I build on this? He's like, oh yeah, you're good. And that was basically it. And I was like, what do you mean I'm good? Like, he's like, oh yeah, no, you're fine. Like, you'll be fine on that. And I was like, well, is there like a permit I need to get? Like, what's the process? He's like, oh yeah, just come into the office and just fill out this piece, this piece of paper, and you could just go ahead and just do whatever you want. And I was like, well, I mean, is there like a variance? Is there setbacks? Like, he's like, oh yeah, setbacks. He's like, oh yeah, just do like 10 feet, you'll be fine. Like that. And I swear that's exactly how the conversation went. So that's what happens when you go into the middle of the country and you want to buy a storage facility, right? So you can ask for like setbacks or something, like you could ask for like, is there like anything I should know, any rules or anything like that, right? So, and so they'll just tell you. Now, if you did that in Atlanta, they'd be like, here's 1,000 rules and you have to follow all of them, right? But that's why I like doing secondary and tertiary markets, because there's like way less rules. Okay, so okay. So now we've talked to the permitting company, the permitting department or the zoning. We have a permitting and then a zoning, but most of the time they're together. And so then they give you the thumbs up and they say, yes, you can build. And then after that, what you want to do, and after you did that, the next thing is to get a feasibility study. All right, a feasibility study. I'll say this is number 3, feasibility study. Okay. And the feasibility study is basically you hiring a company to like look at the market and to make sure that this is a good project that you should be working on, right? Based on the competitors, based on how much is driving, based on what, like, what the area calls for, and they'll tell you also what you should be building, all kinds of stuff. All right, so the feasibility study. Now, and then if you go to a bank and get a loan, the bank is going to ask you, like, where's your feasibility study? So you have to get this done if you know for sure that you're going to be building a new building. Okay. So feasibility study, there's a lot of companies out there that do feasibility studies, and they're actually expensive. So don't, like, just so you know, like, it's going to be expensive. This is an expense that you're going to have to pay. It's a couple $1,000s, if not more, depending on how big the facility is. Okay. So you want to get a feasibility study done. All right. And so then after you get the feasibility study back, and that's going to take a couple of weeks. Oh yeah, what I wanted to say about that too was that you want to make sure that you put the on the contract, when you put the land under contract, you want to make sure that you put like all these stipulations in there. And one of the stipulations is like, if this feasibility study comes back and it says, no, like, this is not a good thing, then I'd like to cancel the contract. I terminate the contract. If the county comes back and says, like, no, you can't, build your storage facility, I'm going to cancel the contract. All right. So you want to make sure that you put on the contract your stipulations for termination. Okay. All right. So that is that. Okay. All right. So we have the land, we have the zoning, we have the feasibility study. Oh, another thing I totally forgot. All right. Is number 4 is talking to a metal fabrication company and having them give you a quote on how many units you can build. All right. How many units you can build. So talk to a metal fabrication company and get quote. Get quote. That says quote. Okay. All right. And so, because the reason why is because these fabrication companies, I mean, at least all the ones I know and work for, is like they can give you a quote back in like 24 hours a lot of times. Now, they'll give you just like a rough idea. So you give them, like, you essentially tell them the address, give them like maybe a drawing of what your property looks like, and then they can quickly come in and just do like a quick diagram of like, how many units they think they could build on this. Now that doesn't go off the feasibility study or anything like that. Once you get the feasibility study back, then you could be like, oh yeah, I need to like change the unit sizes and mixes and stuff, because like this is what the market actually calls for. And they do this all for free. Honestly, they just do you a quick quote, and they're used to doing these things as well. So definitely, like, once you get that land, I would get a quote, a drawing from a metal fabrication company. Talk to two or three of them and just get some different ideas. That way you can, like, see what you think you could do there. Okay. All right, so you have the land, you get the land, you put it under contract. Actually, you get the land, you talk to the county, make sure it's okay to build, then you put it under contract. You talk to a metal fabrication company and get them to draw it out. You get the feasibility study inside in the and then you'll have to do like, and then what you're going to do is you're going to talk to lenders for loan. So many lenders out there will do new construction loans on storage facilities. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you go local. But SBA also does this. Okay. How much time do we have? We got 10 minutes. Good. Okay. So SBA also does this. Okay. So I would go talk to the local banks in the area and then just see what their terms are, see what they could offer you. And also talk to kind of the other banks that would do SBA loans, and see what they would do. But SBA does love new construction as well, and they will do new construction loans. A lot of people don't know that. Okay. Another thing too is so funny because I'm looking at a facility like in the North Georgia area, and it happens to be in the USDA area. The USDA, and guess what? USDA does also commercial loans. So you could also do a loan through USDA. These loans typically take like minimum 120 days. SBA is going to take you like 90. It's going to take you 120 days to do SBA or USDA loan, just so you know, just to even purchase it. Local banks are a little bit quicker than that, but so it's really up to you. It's really more conventional versus government backed loans. Okay. But talk to as many lenders as you possibly can and get their terms. And let's see. So now you're looking for the money, talking to the lenders and trying to get some loans. Now you got the loan, you got approved, you've closed on the deal. Actually, before you close on the deal, what I wanted to say is you got to make sure that you do all the things that the lender wants you to do, like the environmental studies and just like appraisal and all that kind of stuff too. So, find out what the lender wants. Like, what does lender need? Like the environmental study or whatever. Okay, so they may require some stuff, I'm not 100% sure, but they may require um, you to do some things. So you want to find out about that as well too. Okay, and then also after you talk to the lender and you get the approval, right? Once you get the approval for the loan, I would go back to the metal fabrication companies, and then I would start working on getting ready to put your down payment for your metal down, right? Down payment for metal. The reason why is because, I mean, it could take up to 6 months to get, like, depending on which company you use. Now, so there are some students, like, I mean, sorry, like one of my students essentially is using a company that bought a lot of metal, like even before COVID. I mean, they just said, so they not, I'm keep saying metal, still, like, yeah, so still right before COVID. So like they just like they're going to get that thing done as soon as they get the permitting right? The permitting process, they're going to have that thing done in like a month, that facility, right? But some of them, they don't buy the steel until like the person puts the down payment for the steel down, right? So then there's like a 6 month backup time for that. Okay. So like it's just taking a long time for that. So and the more expensive, like if you want to get that thing done, obviously you pay more money. If you want to wait, it's okay to wait 6 months. Then okay, you could just go with like one of those types of companies, just so you know, you have to pay those loans back from those lenders. But as soon as you can, you want to pay the money to the down payment so you can get that metal blocked for you. You get that locked price in for that steel. Okay. So down payment to get that thing closed and to get that thing going. Now you might not be able to pay that until you close, right? Obviously, because then you're going to get the money and then you'll have the money to do that. But as soon as you can pay that down payment, pay that, okay? And then go back to the metal fabrication company and then finalize after you get that feasibility study. Finalize the down payment, finalize the proposal. Okay, so finalize proposal for structures, okay, so that they can be built with the metal fabrication company. So finalize the drawings. You may have to hire a civil engineer, to draw the drawings out for you, make sure that your setbacks are okay. You have to work with the county. They have to approve. They have to go through the permitting process, right? So take drawings for permitting approval. So the civil engineer, the metal fabrication company, right? And then whatever else, maybe like all the studies. I'm not sure if they're going to need like other stuff as well too. Maybe they need an environmental study or whatever. Whatever the permitting process needs is what you're going to be working on. All right. So going through that permitting process. And then once you get that permitting process, then you get to start building. Now, depending on whether or not you hire like a project manager from the company to manage that, or you manage it yourself, if you're going to be hands-on there watching and managing everything, then gung ho, do that if you want to do that. Or hire the internal person in that company to manage everything for you. Okay. So that's going to be, let's see, hiring GC, internal or yourself. Wait, internal or yourself, that doesn't sound right. But let's say internal, let's say like from company, or let's say external or yourself. Okay. All right. So you're hiring the GC, and now he's going to manage pouring any type of like clearing. Like, let's just do like project. Actually, let's do 10 project steps. Clearing trees, grading, electrical or water if needed. What else? Laying the foundation, building the frame. Building the frame. Am I missing anything in the project steps? I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, right? But this is the main stuff. You got to clear the trees. You got to get it graded nice and flat. Lay the foundation, or sorry, lay the electrical, because you're gonna need lights and things like this. Definitely. Now, water, if you want to put water in, you can put water in. But if there's an office or whatever, then you could put all that in as well. So this is like actually just like mechanicals. All right, mechanicals. And then they're going to pour the foundation. I would say, oh yeah, pour the foundation and do the asphalt or gravel. Asphalt, gravel could be last actually. Actually, let's put that last. Put that last right here. Okay, asphalt and gravel is last. So foundation, and then build the frame, build it out, and then put the asphalt and the gravel. Okay. I think that's it for all the steps. And then you got to start leasing up. That's a whole other webinar, is the lease up phase. All right. But let me see. That is let me see. Stop share. That is the process for building new. Okay, that's the process for building new. And we only have 2 minutes left. So let me see if there's any quick questions, and then we're going to hop off. And oh yeah, fencing. Thank you. Put fencing on that list. If you have any fencing and security, thank you. Okay, fencing and security. That's good. That's what I said. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but that's kind of just my process, my thought process of how new builds go. Fencing and security should definitely be added to that list. Did I miss anything else, y'all? See questions or whatever too. Let me make sure. Any questions? It looks like Ariel put a lot of stuff in. How do you find a company to do a feasibility study? Like I would just Google feasibility study self-storage is what I do. All right, go into the groups and then post it out in the groups. Like who knows somebody that does a feasibility study? Okay. And your thoughts on recycle asphalt or recycle concrete? Oh yeah. What's your budget? That's the thought. What's your budget? We did asphalt, and it was like for an acre, it was like 30 grand. All right. Concrete, way more than that. Way, way more. Okay. So our budget is less. Okay. Just a real quick reminder before I hop off is that the Storage Nerds doors are closed right now, but you can get on the wait list if you're interested in getting to the coaching program. Just go to storagenerds.com/waitlist. And then also the course Super Simple Self-Storage is available, right? So you can go to stacyrossetti.com and click on online courses for that. And then the Self-Storage Fund of America, we're going to hop on and do that right now, is stacyrossetti.com/fund. All right. And let's see, and then also the podcast, the Storage Nerds podcast. If you want to listen to that, that is available as well too. Okay. All right. I appreciate everything, and I appreciate you. I know the internet was a little slow and stuff today, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I will see you at the next session. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.